Okay.
Okay.
Here, I'll come over here. So, Oma, tell us about what it was like to. Tell us about your growing up years, because I know you were born in an interesting place at an interesting time.
Well, we were born in Schlesien, which was Breslau, was the big city there.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, when the war broke out, we had to flee from that part of Germany. And so my mom had to load us up on, we got loaded up on trucks. There were 5 of us. Krista, Avi was 11, Krista 10, I was 5, Wolfgang was 3, and Heidi was a half a year old. And my brother and I, we happened to be in kindergarten at the time when Krista and Avi came to pick us up, said we have to come home, and we had to dress up clothes, wear everything double, and whatever we could carry. And my mom stuffed stuff in the buggy, and it's all whatever, we had to leave everything else behind. So then they loaded us up on trucks, and from then on it was like we went wherever all the refugees start going, you know, on trains and full of. And then in the meantime, also bombing was going on. Before we left home, we had to go in the cellar because of the sirens came and they were bombing. So somehow when we left where we was born, it started going down south, and wherever we went, sometimes the train stopped with full of refugees, and if somebody died, they just had to leave them there. And then my mom would try to make little with bricks, a little fire outside, and maybe potatoes. There was not much food to eat.
Yeah.
So we were in a lot of little camps with other refugees.
Where was your dad at that point?
He was in the regular German army. I guess whatever, fighting. And so we had no clue, of course, where he was. So my mom always just had to take care of us. And I guess sometime we went, one time the train went over the bridge, but they thought they better try first without all the people on it to see just the luggage. And I guess it collapsed and everything fell down on, and somehow we retrieved the buggy of Heidi's and all that, and we were okay. So then it just was different. Like I said, sometimes schools, they had it open for all the refugees. Everybody got a little corner or double, maybe we had a couple of bunk beds that we all had to share, the kids.
Yeah.
And I guess I fell one time out of one of them, and from up down and hit my head. And then one day we were all, how kids, there used to be a lot of rubbles from the bombing and stuff, and we would search for stuff, and you find sometime maybe a can of cookie even, or an old pot or pans and all this stuff. But also sometimes there was maybe a grenade or something in, and they got killed.
Yeah.
And so one day all my sisters, we were standing there, and there were 2 boys. They had little metal rods. They were like a dart came into, and we're just watching there, and one of them didn't hit it, and it hit me in the eye, almost in the. There was so much, and just the blood was coming out, and my sisters were screaming and whatever. And so I didn't lose my eye, thank God, because it just was within who knows.
Yeah.
And of course, the mother of the boy, she was ready to kill him, so they had to kind of separate them, and so that was a big fiasco. And of course, I had to have a wear a patch over, and they're trying to, take care of me and all that. So that wasn't too well. And then we ended up in Ulm, which is Melklingen was a small town, a farmer's town, which belonged to Ulm, the city, and it wasn't that far away. And then they used to have to, well, I guess we're all in the camps, we got lice, everybody got lice.
Oh.
So they had to shave all our heads and put stuff all over and all this stuff. And then cod liver oil, my mom would try to give us, eat, you know, I guess they said that's good for you. And oh, we ran and hide and ugh, it's horrible. And so, of course, food was very, very scarce. And Krista and Afi, especially Krista, loved food and all this. But then we moved from the camp in Ulm, we moved to in Melklingen, because all the farmers, usually they had maybe an apartment, like the houses, they lived downstairs, and then later upstairs maybe one of the son and daughter get married, they would live there for a while. So each farmer took in refugees and the families, and we ended up with the Breidingers, which he was a blacksmith, you know. So
Which, when I went to visit Melklingen,
yeah,
the descendants of the Breidingers still live there.
I know, I can't believe it, because, you know, and so the way the Breidingers house, and then this down the street, you know, what you call the street, there were all the different farmhouses, and Angelica's,
Sit down if you want.
Angelica's parents' house, you know, their farm was there, and naturally I was close to her age. She was a year older, and Wolfgang was close to her brother Gerhard, and Krista was close to the other brother, Hans.
Yeah.
So we used to go, you know, go help him with the farm work, or we got them maybe some milk and bread. And my mom worked there, help out to get extra food for us, whatever she
Because your dad
could.
was still gone at that
He
point.
still was gone, and I think they were trying to find him, which they finally did through the Red Cross, because he was captured on the American side, and because he has lost a leg. He had stepped on a grenade or whatever, and they had to cut his leg off below the knee. So then I remember we got to see him, but he only came on the weekend for a while, because from Stuttgart, where he worked, and tried to get an apartment for us, because they were rebuilding all the bombed out places. So he would come, you know, after he came home, of course, then we heard, oh, I guess we're going to have another siblings. I guess my mom got pregnant.
Really? I didn't know that. After Heidi?
Yeah, when my dad came home after he was wounded, we got home, so I guess it happened then. But then she lost it, because she was always working at the farm, helping with stuff, and so I just remember coming home from wherever in Afi, there were buckets of stuff soaking in blood and all this, and so they took her to the hospital, and I guess she got probably a hysterectomy. I mean, I didn't know all this then,
Right.
but that's what she had, a miscarriage. So we would have been actually 7 kids, because my mother's firstborn he was stillborn, and then she had 5, and then the last one was a miscarriage.
Oh,
So,
wow. I didn't know that.
yeah, so that was, then.
Yeah.
So then finally my dad got, I guess they all got apartments, like the Kleinstrasse, where, I don't know if you've been there which is in Stuttgart. We got an apartment, and it was, brand new and everything, because they had to rebuild everything.
So did you spend the rest of your time in Germany in Stuttgart?
Yeah, Stuttgart was always there, in the Kleinstrasse 28. And of course, the Rosenstein Park was real close by, so we used to go after dinner. Sometime my mom would all get out, start walking, and go to the park, and as kids do, somersaults and all this stuff. And they also had a little, like a Wilhelma, that was like a small, uh, like, oh, what do you call, where they have some animals and plants growing and everything, and you could visit that for a little bit money, go in. But the park was really nice there.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where we lived till when I left.
What were you doing for work when you met?
Well, I started it going to school for what do you call it, a salesperson. Because in Germany you don't just go and be a certain. You had to go like in textile or shoe. And a girlfriend of mine worked in this shoe store, and she said, well, maybe you get a job there while you go to school to get a license to be a Verkäuferin, which means a salesperson.
Mm-hmm.
And of course I hated school. I didn't like it. You had to remember this, and you had, I dreamt about taking the test, because you had to know, like, they gave you a written test and then a physical test while you go in the shoes. Says, what was the problem with that person's foot? And it was horrible. And like I said, I had nightmares about it. But I passed it, and I got which doesn't mean anything here, because anybody can go be a salesperson. But and then after a while I thought, I don't really like this.
Yeah.
But then, of course, I was so young, and I met Tom at the Oktoberfest.
How old were you when you guys met?
I was 17, real young. And Elfriede, my girlfriend, that she had met her then boyfriend also, because he was Tom's buddy. They were standing watching us. I guess we were watching by the bumper cars at the Oktoberfest. And they walked up and wanted to know if we want to ride. And I thought, well, it's two of us, and sure, we didn't have any more money to go. So we kept, and then they had their little English-German dictionary, because we didn't know any English. So they would, like, somehow made up, okay, let's make a date. We'll meet you at downtown Stuttgart at the train station at such and such time. So Elfriede said, I bet you they're not going to show up. We'll just go see. And sure thing, there they were waiting for us. And I always said, where do you want to go? And we said, raus aus der Stadt. Like, get out of the city. Because Tom actually had a VW that his parents had gone to Europe for 6 weeks, and they bought a brand new W at the factory and toured all over Spain and Italy and Germany, and then they left the car with him. And of course, those days nobody hardly had cars, so we thought, oh good, we don't have to be in this city. We can go and, Nate out, and they have good restaurants there to eat good food. And it seemed like we always could eat no matter what. So that's what we did. We always double dated for the longest, just Elfriede and Don Edmondson was his name. And then, just, I guess Tom, how he knew right away, I guess I was different from the American girls. He later told me they always want you to buy him stuff, and and like one time we were going somebody, the four of us, and he had his jacket off, and I noticed his seams were ripped inside, and just like a good little German girl, we had our little kit. One of those little sewing emergency kit in the purse, and I was sewing it up.
Aww.
And just things like that. I go, oh man, this is really something.
So how old were you when you ended up getting married? You met at 17.
Yeah, we were still 17. I mean, I was just going on 7.
Do you remember how long you dated?
Oh, right away he knew by the couple of dates, he said he wanted to marry me.
Wow. Do you remember how he proposed?
Well, I can't remember back, but I knew he. And then, of course, then we had to do everything from English and German. We had to do a lot of paperwork.
Uh-huh.
We had to drive to Munich to get to the consulate. And on the way to Autobahn, I tried to learn the ABC in English.
Do you know your ABCs now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do know them now. And we did go get a consulate. And, of course, right away, I got pregnant, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And
with Tanta, Rose.
Tanta, yeah, she was about the only one my mom ever knew of. 5.5 weeks, my sisters and my mom knew her, and then we left to come over here.
Do you remember how you felt moving to a different country?
I was excited, really, coming to America.
Yeah.
You're young, and Wolfgang used to say, "Oh, someday I'm going to be an American man, and I'm going to be an American woman." I don't know why we always thought this way.
Was it from the movies, maybe?
No, I can't. I don't know why, but it was just always really exciting, and I didn't even think about that I might get homesick or anything. And when I worked up till 8 months or 7 months pregnant at a shoe store, and then sometimes Americans come in buy shoes, and then I said, "Oh, I'm going to go to America." I was, I come. And they said, "Oh, where?" I said, "California." And they said, "Oh, California is a really nice." Yeah, you should see it now.
I think there's nice parts still, but yeah.
Oh, well, there is, but I mean the way politics and everything went.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I was excited going. And, of course, the trip over, the Army puts you up on one of those propeller things that go who knows how many hours to Iceland was the first stop. And you had to wait, and Roseanne, of course, I guess right away had colic and crying and trying to make formula, and it was a bad trip for me as a young, nothing, but Tom was very helpful and knew what to do, I guess. And in Brooklyn, they put us up in a 9th floor somewhere in one of those hotels, half black walls and red. Awful place. The elevator didn't work. So this other German girl had also a little girl, young, and so I stuck around with her because she knew some English, because they had to muster out of the Army in New York. I guess, I don't know what they had to do. And so I kind of hung around with her all the time because I spoke no English at all. And so then we got on a regular airplane, to come to California. And Tom said, "Let me call my parents and you can talk to them." And I go, "Oh, I don't know. Oh, just say hi, And so, of course, then when we flew in, LAX was not like that. It was just the propeller machines came down. You had to walk down, and then you walked to the really open. And I had on one of those carrying on cases for babies in those days. And it goes, "Where's the baby?" And I said, "Here." It's in the
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to start a new clip because it's getting long.